Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trep Talks. This is a show where I interview successful entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm so excited to welcome Mr. Beav Brodie. Beav is the founder and CEO of Tactical Baby Gear. Tactical Baby Gear creates and sells a line of diaper bags and accessories designed specifically for men that look like they were ripped right out of a SWAT team van. And today I want to ask Beav a few questions about his startup story and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to grow Tactical Baby Gear. So thank you so much for joining us today at Trep Talks, Beav.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that intro. I always love how people describe our product or our gear. So it gives me a little bit of insight for some of those future marketing things and tactics that I'm sure we'll get into. But thank you. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
My pleasure. So the first segment is called The Story, where I want to discover the story behind the entrepreneur, business person, or the brand. So I'm very curious to hear your startup story. How did you come up with the idea for Tactical Baby Gear, and what motivated you to start the business?
Yeah, so I come from a background of in the automotive industry, and I'm a builder, creator, make stuff kind of person. I'm not really a business type, which we'll get into in a little bit, I'm sure, on the business end of it. But so anyways, coming from an automotive background, and I'm sort of your man's man, right? I'm covered in tattoos, and I do all the typical like guy stuff, shooting guns, messing with cars, going fast, like building stuff, welding, that kind of stuff. So anyways, my wife and I had one child already. We had a daughter, and we found out she was pregnant again with a second daughter. And of course, I'm the kind of guy who's like, I gotta have a boy. And we find out it's a girl again. And at that moment, I was like, son of a bitch. Sorry if I can't curse. Son of a gun. Like, I'm gonna have to carry her diaper bag again. Like, I already, typically in parenting, a lot of times the diaper bag will get picked out based on the gender of the child. So if it's a boy, you're going to have something that's a little cooler for guys to carry sometimes, or it's black or gray, or it's got dinosaurs instead of flowers. Like it, a lot of times it gets picked out based on the gender of the baby. So we had this purple diaper bag that my mother had given to my wife at the first baby shower. And I just knew I was carrying this purple bag again. And while at the time my wife was working full time, and she was working till 10, 11 o'clock at night, managing a business. And I was an entrepreneur then. I had my own business car shop, and I was constantly the one carrying the bag. I was picking the kids up from daycare. I was taking them to the park. I was making them dinner. I was putting them to bed. I was dad mode all the time because my wife worked, these late night hours. So I was always like super hands-on with the kids, and I loved it. And I was like just completely owning the dad position. But I was always caught off guard with like this purple bag, and I just like hated it. And I wanted something that spoke more to me and my personality and the stuff that I was into. And I was looking online, I was Googling for, cool diaper bag for dads, men's diaper bags, and nothing was cool. Like there was just like, you might find a black, this is back in 2013 too. So you might find like a black or a gray version of a pretty typical looking diaper bag, but it still looked like a diaper bag, and I didn't really care for it. So I took some of my skill set in the automotive industry with being able to sew and do upholstery and stuff like that, and I made my own. And then some of my buddies were like, dude, this is sweet. Like, make me one, And I was like, dang, I guess I'm not the only one that feels like this. So I kind of had that aha moment where I was like, man, I'm not the only one that feels this way. And I know that there are a ton of people in the world just like me who are proud parents, would do anything for their kids, but if they're going to be carrying a diaper bag around, they want a cool bag that kind of empowers them a little bit more to be a little bit more excited about what they have to do versus feeling like I have to carry it. It's more like, ooh, I get to carry it, right? So I thought to myself, shoot, I bet I have a side hustle here, and that's how I started. It was really just a side hustle, and I was like, I'll call it Tactical Baby. That was the design aesthetic of it, back then, with webbing on it and it's a little military looking. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm into, guns and gear and things like that. So I was like,
So you
call it
think that is your value proposition, because bag is such a generic thing.
the bag.
So your value proposition is the branding and the design of it that speaks specifically to manly men, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Right. So, like you said, it's like the value proposition is one, we've built a community of people, of dads especially, who are far more excited about it than they might have been otherwise. And I've talked to a lot of guys and a lot of wives, and it's always like, man, my husband wasn't excited at all about the baby until I got them your diaper bag, and now that's all he's talking about. So it literally, something as simple as a diaper bag could change the way someone feels about something, and it's not just
Definitely.
diaper bag, but there's a lot of other products in the world around other niches that can change your perspective of the way you think about it. You might not be pumped to drive a pickup truck, but if somebody gives you the cyber truck or something, that might change the way you think. Like, oh, okay, this is a sweet pickup truck, or maybe you hate it and whatever. But like, there's other things in the world like that that'll change your perspective and the way you think about things. So that happened to be the case for the diaper bag. There just wasn't anything out there cool for dad. Having a baby and being pregnant and all that kind of stuff is so mom centric and so heavily focused on women and females and what they're buying that there's really no market for dad, and it's kind of unfortunate that, we get left out of a lot of things when it comes to baby, even in the baby showers. Like, historically, baby showers have been for mom. What about dad? So like, more recently in the last probably 10 years, you started to see more stuff, more events for dads, like guys will throw a beer and diapers party and get a bunch of your buddies together, drink some beers, get some like everyone brings a box of diapers, and you just kind of hang out with your buddies and you get a bunch of diapers out of it, and you're like, sweet, and then you're starting to see more of the men and women going to baby showers. It's more of a family event and not just women. So I think we're evolving as a society to realizing, like, hey, dads are just as much a part of this situation as mom is. Like, let's not exclude him. He probably already feels more excluded already, because like, he's not growing the baby. Moms and dads have a different connection with the baby, especially from day one. Like, we don't know what it's like to grow a child inside of us and have that connection, and for a lot of parents and a lot of dads that I've talked to, it's taken them weeks or months or years to kind of develop and build that connection with their child, because it's a different situation, so it's like dads just keep getting excluded from this parenting side of it, and we found a way to kind of like pull them back into the mix and show them, like, hey, you can be excited about this, you can be pumped about this. And we're showing moms too, like, hey, you want your husband or your father or this child to be like super pumped about it, like, don't exclude them. How about be a little bit more inclusive and say, like, hey, let's get you a cool baby carrier. Hey, let's get you a cool diaper bag, so that when you're carrying the kid, or you guys can go do your own adventures or go fishing or do that, and not feel like you're having to carry my stuff around. Like, you have your stuff, I have my stuff, or whatever. And it's very much like, give a man the right tool for the job, he'll get it done. It's like, that's a lot of the way.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. I want to ask you more questions about the business specifically, but on the personal side, I'm very curious to know. A lot of times it is said that now you're a business person, you're an entrepreneur, that your business is only going to grow as quickly as that you grow as a person, as an entrepreneur. I'm very curious to know, what are some of the things that you do as an entrepreneur to continue to grow, to continue to improve being that entrepreneur and business person.
Right. Educate myself, things like that. Honestly, I've slacked on this a little bit recently.
Well, I guess, you do podcasts and things, like you're talking to other people, so I'm sure that definitely
Yeah,
helps.
we talk to other people. I get inspired, by other people. There's guys like Gary Vee. I'm sure you're familiar with who Gary Vee is.
Yeah.
We had Gary Vee on our podcast, and I've talked with him quite a bit, and I was a big fan of his before. And I get a lot of inspiration and stuff out of that, but I'm pretty self-motivated. So this is a weird thing. Maybe it's not for an entrepreneur. I don't know. I don't really actually have any goals. And for me, I'm just the kind of guy who just wants to keep moving forward, and I want things to keep improving. I want today to be better than yesterday, and maybe it won't, and I'll learn something from that, right? You learn from those failures. But I'm always just trying to move forward and get more of whatever it is. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be this. Like, I just want to keep moving the needle forward in some regard, whether that's just making a better product or improving myself personally, or getting more content out today, or making more money by the end of the year, or impacting more lives and helping more dads. Like, I just want more, and that's my goal. So it's interesting because I'm having some of these thoughts as I'm talking about.
So in a way, you're competing with yourself. You're not looking at some external goal or external person to compare yourself to your.
I don't look at competition really. I don't compare myself to other companies. I just do what we're doing. I focus on myself, and that helps me think outside the box and not be persuaded by someone else's actions. But I'm just self-motivated, where I'm just like keep wanting more. And I don't do the best job of like trying to educate myself from other people. I take little tidbits randomly for people, or someone that I might have a conversation with that's like far more successful than me. And like, they'll give me a little nugget, and I'll kind of hang on to that and apply it when I feel like it's necessary, or maybe that little thing will change the way I think about something. But I've always just kind of paved my own way and gone my own path. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but I'm kind of doing things my way and taking a little bit from other people here and there along the way to try to like improve myself. And I've just always gone against the grain. Like, I don't really do anything by the book, and it's just like I've paved my own way to where I'm at.
Does that mean that your day is not very structured? Like, how many hours a day do you spend like working? Like, and what when you wake up in the morning, like, what are your priorities in the day?
Yeah. So my day, I kid you not, has zero structure. Like, I just hired an assistant this week. And she's been super helpful. It's actually why we're finally having this podcast. You just got an email probably yesterday from her or something that was like, hey, yeah, let's do this. Because I was like, I've got so much stuff that I just haven't gotten to. I need you to please do this. And she's amazing so far. I'm super pumped. She's in the Marine Corps, and she's very structured, and I've got her here to like tell me what to do and when to do it, kind of thing, within reason, because I need some of that flexibility. To be able to think outside the box and get creative and be wild and try weird stuff. Because I think that's where some of my best ideas come from, is just like, I don't have anything to do. I don't have any structure. I'm just doing. And that's where I've always strived. And like, that creates pressure at times where it's like, oh snap, I need to get this done like tomorrow. But those pressures always create really good stuff for me. So like, I work really well under pressure, and I think that's why I've never really tried to put a lot of structure on myself, is because I almost enjoy that last minute, like, bop, 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 bop. I like high speed, fast paced stuff. But I don't like the structure as much, but I know I need the structure. So I hired somebody to give me some structure.
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone yesterday also, as an entrepreneur, and this is exactly what they were saying, that as an entrepreneur, you have you're the idea guy, but that comes with its drawbacks, and so you have to find other people who can give you that structure in terms of execution and things like that.
Yeah, it can be tough. It's like you're like, a lot of people call me the visionary, right? Like, you have a vision of the brand and the business and like where it needs to go and trends and some of that kind of stuff. But like, I've got a pretty good team around me now to like help me execute on some of those ideas and visions to help scale it. Because, when you're only one person, you're only going to get so much done, right?
Now we're going to move on to our next segment, which is called The Business. And in this segment, I want to ask you a few more questions about your business and some of the strategies and tactics that you have used to grow it. So I'm very curious to know, so, when you had your the aha moment about this business, that there is this gap in the market, what were some of the first steps? Because, any entrepreneur who's starting out would be very interested in knowing, how do you go from that initial idea to to at least the first prototype
like
of a
product
business. Yeah.
Fortunate for me, I had a skill set that allowed me to make my own first prototype product. So I had that benefit. And then I knew some other people that I reached out to. So I started this whole business on Instagram, really. When I had the idea, and I already had a decent Instagram following at the time from my car stuff. And I had gained a lot of relationships with all kinds of different people in all kinds of different industries through my automotive business. And again, this is 2013 when Instagram was just popping and booming. It was pretty new, and like there was so much growth to be had, and it was all organic, and it was awesome. And so I kind of leveraged that network of people to ask questions, and I knew this guy named Gene Higdon, who's known as Mean Gene, who started High Speed Gear, and they're one of the larger, more successful tactical gear companies in the industry. He went on to sell it later down the road, but I knew him, and I said, Gene, how I've got this idea for this bag, and I've made some, and there seems to be some excitement and some demand for it. Like, who do I talk to manufacture this bag for me? Who's a factory that I can talk to? And he gave me a few leads, which was great, and that kind of pushed me and led me down the path of like, okay, now I have a couple of factories that I can talk to, that I can give them my prototype or my idea or my design and try to improve it a little bit and go into more mass manufacturing, mass market stuff, which at the time was tough and kind of expensive. But when you talk about factory level manufacturing, you have to do hundreds and hundreds, or sometimes thousands or tens of thousands, depending on what type of product you're making. Like injection molded stuff, a lot of these factories are like, 10,000 piece minimum order, and you're like, holy smokes, I'm just trying to start. How do I order 10,000 of these things? Or in my case, it was like several hundred bags, maybe 500 bags was the minimum order then, and typically that's like per color. So like I wanted to have different colors, so I'm like, shoot, now I'm ordering 500 of this color, 500 of that color. It starts to get expensive, and you're like, man, how do I don't have 30 grand to pay for that right now, so it's like trying to figure out those struggles, and trying to raise money somehow. In my case, I just busted my ass, and I actually started doing some other like random side hustle stuff to just turn quick cash that I could use to kind of pump back into saving money for that manufacturing that I wanted to do.
So initially, did you just choose like one or two products and said, because you can't do everything, how many products did you start out with?
Initially it was just a bag.
Okay.
And then I started offering a few other ancillary accessories, like paracord accessories. I knew a guy through my kind of Instagram network of people who just like did small batches of paracord stuff. So we did actually I wish I still had this right now, but it was a paracord thing like wrapped around a hand sanitizer bottle that we would clip onto the diaper bag, and we called it the germ grenade. And it was like, now that's like a big thing. Like we started a huge deal around that. We did paracord pacifier clips, so you could flip the pacifier onto the baby's shirt or onto a bag or whatever, so you wouldn't drop it on the ground. We just did a bunch of like smaller accessories, things like that were like small batch. I'm paying some dude some cash, and it's like everyone was winning. We did some other like collaborations with some other companies that had big followings, so we were able to like do a really cool collaboration with a company that made sense with ours, that we were able to siphon some of their audience. Somebody that had a couple 100,000 followers, we get some of their audience, we're selling a product, they're getting exposure from our audience, we're making money, and it was just like collaboration was the name of the game. And I believe it still is. But yeah, we started with just like that one product and then a few other accessories along the way.
And you sold them, and then the revenue that you generated, you reinvested in other products and things like
I would reinvest, and I would actually take some for myself, because at the time I wasn't making much money doing cars. Like I had a reasonably successful business, being that like we were well known for what we did, and we did some really cool high-end stuff. But the automotive industry, especially where I'm at for the type of work we were doing, is not a very lucrative industry, and it was hard to find skilled labor for the type of work we did. So I was like a one-man band where I was like wearing all the hats, doing all the things. And again, it's like you're only one person. You can only do so much. There's only so much time in the day, which meant there was only so much work I could do, so I could only make so much money, and that got to be sort of a pain point. So I was like, got to the point where it's like, now I have 2 kids and like daycare and all this stuff. So I was actually taking some money in the early days from the tactical baby gear stuff while trying to like reinvest more than I was taking. But I had to use some of that to like live because I was like broke, you know?
Yeah. Did you ever think that, that given that maybe you could see that the business had some traction and you were getting customers, that you can get like an outside investment and
I tried. So we'll go down this path. So I had some traction. I asked a few family members for some money. That like just, I'm someone that like just believes in myself. I'm like, I'm going to make this work 100%. Like I've never really like had a major failure in anything. Like everything I've ever done, I've got 110% into, and I've had success with it to some degree. And I knew that like if I borrowed money from a family member that like I have to make this work, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And everyone turned me down. They're like, no, that's a cute idea, but like no, so a few of those, and then eventually, this will be good. This is a good segue into me finally bringing on a business partner, which brought more cash into the business, which allowed us to really grow. And he's more the business mindset behind the business and the operations of it. So if you want to go down that path, that's where we can go. So my current business partner, Alex is his name, who is a very good friend of mine. We grew up together from like, elementary school. Known each other since we were probably 6 years old. Never really close friends, but we knew each other. We played soccer together, stuff like that, right? I saw he made a post on Facebook that his business and a product that he invented, he took a picture of it on the shelf at Target. And he said something about, it's cool to see your invention on the shelf at Target or something along those lines. But I was like, that's the guy. I just was like scrolling through Facebook and I was like, you know what? Alex is the guy I need to reach out. I've got some questions for him because I didn't really know where to go from here. I was like, okay, I need to get these bags made from this factory. I'm trying to save money. I got, people seem to love it. They're really on board. What are the next steps? What do I need to do? You're selling stuff in Target, so you clearly understand like that side of things. So I call him. We have a conversation. He was living in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time, and he's like, hits me with all this stuff that's like, to me now is like such no-brainer stuff. It's like things like, oh, you need to have a UPC, like a barcode for your product so that if you did sell it into retail like Target, like they need to scan a barcode. So you need to buy the UPCs, like just like the random stuff. And I'm like, oh, of course, duh. Like, why didn't I think of that? But that's not the world I came from. And a lot of people don't come from that world. I came from an automotive, where I like fix stuff and build stuff and like, I don't know the retail side of things at all. So he has this, so he was like, oh man, it's really cool, So anyways, a few months later goes by and it's like Christmas time. And he's like, hey man, I'm coming in town to see my parents for the holidays. Let's get together. Let's go have a drink at the bar and, hang out. So I'm like, yeah, cool. So we do that. And we start talking about, my business some more and how things are going and things are, really trending forward and people, and I'm just like sewing stuff still and outsourcing like small batches to some other crazy thing. And like, so I'm able to be selling diaper bags in that meantime. And I'm like, things are going pretty well. And he showed interest in maybe partnering in the business because he was kind of over his old business and there was some funky stuff going on there that he was just like, man, I think I'm just going to sell it to my partner. He was getting some weird stuff going on there. So anyways, he ends up, we negotiate a deal. He buys into the company, brings cash to the table as part of that deal. We were able to use that cash to then do more mass manufacturing of the bags through like a real factory, which was a big turning point for us. And then he took over a lot of the like business operations side of things, finance, stuff like that. And then that's when, we really started doing a lot more with it while I was still working on cars this whole time. Up until like 2016, I still had my car business operating, and until it got to the point where financially it made zero sense for me to still work on cars. But we also had a lot of big projects in the shop that take 6 or 9 months to build a custom car. So I had to like finish those. But there was a point where I just quit taking on new business. We finished these cars that we owed to these people, and then once we were done with that, I just washed my hands of that business and sort of just put a stop to it, and we went all in on tactical baby gear, like full time, in about 2017, and we just like skyrocketed the business from there.
So right now, I think I read you're a 7-figure business, or
Yeah, it's almost 8. Yeah.
almost okay.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely hit 8 figures this year for sure.
I know that we're running out of time. Do you have a few more minutes so we can
Yeah, of
go through
course.
some? Yeah, okay. Are your products all manufactured in the U.S. or do you have like some?
Most of our stuff is overseas, Vietnam primarily. There's like one product comes out of China. We got a good handful of things that do come from the U.S., but our core bags and stuff are in Vietnam.
Okay. I'm very interested to know about your team. I know you mentioned your new assistant and your partner, but do you have like other people in your team, especially marketing side?
Yeah. So I've got a photo and video guy who does like all of our product photography, video production, that kind of stuff. I've got my art director / graphic designer who does like all of like animations and text and graphic and any of that kind of stuff. And then we've got a agency that we work with that we sub out like all of our PPC, like Google AdWords and Amazon ads to. And then we have a remote copywriter who helps us write a lot of the copy for things. But I've kind of got my hands on all of that. So it's like a lot of it comes from me, and then like they help me execute on some of those ideas. And I did all of that stuff myself for a long time, up until about a year ago. I did all of it myself, and it shows. I mean, if you look back at some of our old stuff, it sucks. So,
well, I mean,
and then go ahead.
I mean, your social media and YouTube channels and things like that are doing really well. So I mean, I would say you did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly got by and we've progressed. It kind of goes back to my mentality of like just wanting to do more, do better. And I didn't have the money to like hire some agency, nor did I want that, because a lot of that stuff, I feel like the feel of the brand and the DNA a lot of times gets filtered out and lost once it hits an agency, and it just kind of becomes vanilla and bland and not as cool or punchy as you wanted it to be. So having these guys here to like really understand my vision and like be able to execute on it's been huge on the marketing side of it. And then we've got, my business partner, as I mentioned, does a lot of the operations, stuff like that. Then we've got our customer service team that handles all the inbound, email stuff, Facebook messages, exchanges, returns, defects, all that kind of stuff. We've got like a logistics guy that handles all of our like inbound stuff from the factory, getting stuff shipped to customers. We've got a warehouse for that where we use a 3PL for shipping and fulfillment. So we've got a team of people there helping us who have been absolutely instrumental in our success and in the way that they.
Do you ship only in the U.S. or do you ship overseas also?
We ship worldwide. There's a lot of countries. There's a handful of countries we don't ship to because we've just had constant problems of packages being lost and there's no tracking, and it's like problematic third world country stuff. But otherwise, international. A lot of Canada and Australia.
Now we're going to move on to our next segment, which is I call the digital, where I want to ask a few more questions about your digital business and digital marketing. So your business is primarily e-commerce, right? You don't sell in like retailers, or do you want to do that in the future?
No. Our business model, we said very, very early on, especially with my partner's previous experience with big box retailers, because he was selling to Target, Macy's, Urban Outfitters, like H-E-B, like grocery chains, a lot of big retailers he was selling to and dealing with. And it's a pain in the ass. They chop the margins down so much to where you're barely making anything. And then they're so demanding of what they want and how they want it. And they want to charge you back for half of it. And then all of a sudden you're paying them to sell it's just outrageous. So, several years ago, we turned down business with Target. We turned down business with Toys R Us, Babies R Us. We turned down, a lot of these like retailers, knowing that like, listen, we just don't want to go down that path. We want to control the experience to our customers from start to finish. We want to be able to own their data. We want to be able to email market to them. We want to be able to, send them a campaign when we release some new product 5 years down the line. that maybe is great for their toddler, or whatever the case is. We wanted to kind of own and control all of that. So, and have much higher profit margins to operate to be able to do other things. So we
So these
decided,
retailers, the buyers from these retailers reached out to you that we like your products and we would like to have in
yeah,
our stores.
yep,
Okay.
which is kind of opposite of how it usually works, right? You usually have to go to them and try to pitch them on why they should sell your product and all that kind of stuff, which is, probably a stressful thing. But I tell you what, man, it really changes the dynamic when they're coming to you and you can actually say no to them. They're like, wait, no one's ever told us no. It's really interesting. But we realized how quickly it could put us out of business too if it didn't go well, because there's a lot of money moving around in those types of scenarios where, you're to kind of sort of break it down. Let's say you're selling a product, it's $100, and you want to sell it to Target, and they want, some big percentage, and you're knocking it in half easy. They're buying it for $50, and it might cost you $25 to manufacture this thing or $30 to manufacture it. And then you still have to ship it to them. And they've got this $2 million purchase order. And you're like, well, shoot, I don't have $2 million to manufacture these products for them. So I've got to go borrow this money at 10% interest for some period of time. And then they want net 60 or net 90 on it. And then they're going to pay it late. So now you're floating this $2 million loan for way longer than you want to or need to with a high interest rate. And then they're going to charge you back because some label's not going to be on the box in the right position. Now you're paying them $5,000 back on stuff. And you're like, cool, $2 million order. I might have made like $100,000, and it's like, what am I doing? So it's, we just didn't want it to play out that way. And it's a very frustrating cycle. And that, again, it could put you out of business just as quickly as it could elevate you if you don't do it right, or if there's complications or problems, or the factory screwed something up and you have a bunch of defects and it's out of your control. It's kind of a scary thing to think about, but we do have a couple strategic retail partners. One of them is AAFES, which is the Army and Air Force Exchange Service. So they're like the PX on the military bases. So we are in, quite a few Army and Air Force bases in their stores, as well as their online store. And then we are partnered with a company called Nine Line Apparel. They have a handful of retail stores where in their retail, these are like very strategic partnerships that are like, these are military guys. These are not always military guys, but like, people that they're very much the DNA of the brand. It's not Target where anybody's walking in there. So it made sense for us to like, a lot of times people want to touch and feel the product before they buy it, which I understand. So that gives them the ability to do that. We also have a partnership with U.S. Patriot Tactical, and they're like a military supply store, and they're worldwide. They've got like 60-something stores located outside of a lot of the major U.S. military bases around the world.
Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense, because your branding goes along very well with these military kind of stores. Yeah. I'm very interested. So you mentioned that you were doing a lot of the marketing yourself. I'm very curious to know, a lot of these marketing channels, I know you did really well on Instagram. In terms of customer acquisition and also, retaining the customer and reselling, in your experience, like which of these channels have been giving you the best ROIs? And specifically, I'm very interested in knowing about like Google Ad and some of these ads.
Yeah. So ROI wise, it would be Facebook.
We have ads.
Yeah, Facebook ads on the Facebook platform. Instagram, that bleeds over in Instagram too, right? So, while we get a lot of good positive stuff out of Instagram, like we do some incredible community engagement and community building on Instagram. But when you're talking about like paid Facebook ads, the ROI comes from the Facebook side of it. And I think that's just because I think when, a lot of the people that are in that part of their life are posting pictures of pregnancy things and females this and stuff like that. Like they tend to be doing more social interactions on Facebook with family members and things of that nature. So it seems like we're catching people in a more willing to purchase state of mind when they're scrolling through Facebook, kind of like without anything else to do versus Instagram, where I think people are maybe a little bit more entertained and don't want to be advertised to as much. But we do some incredible community engagement and community building on Instagram. So that's been really good. Google does very well for us. Google AdWords does because at that point, it's a very high intent to purchase situation. Like people are actively searching for the thing that they want to buy. So that goes into a bigger strategy of how we do things.
And these are the people who are specifically searching for your brand name, or they're searching like, diaper bags for men or something?
Both. Okay. Like our ROI for brand search on tactical baby gear is outrageous. Like they're searching for us. They want to buy our product. They're just trying to get to it. So, we have Google ads in place for that because we have some other competitors and knockoffs and things that have popped up over the last few years who are also bidding on, our brand as a keyword. So we just have to make sure that we maintain, a top position there. But
are they allowed to do it? Like, can you not stop them from?
Yeah, no, you can do that. You can do that. It's frustrating. It's annoying, but you can do it.
Okay.
So, with Google being a very high intent place in the buying phase when they're searching for that kind of a product, the ROI is very good for that.
Okay. Very quickly, I'm very curious to know, given that you have such a huge social media presence, when your brand is so unique, when you're planning out posts for, let's say, your Instagram or Facebook, have you planned your content? Like, do you already have a content calendar that you've planned that, okay, tomorrow we're going to post this, the day after we're going to post this, or is it more like
it's a lot organic? Of it's what I'm feeling, what's coming up. I'm shooting from the hip a lot of times because a lot of the success of this brand, not to like toot my own horn or pat myself on the back, is just I think my intuition on how I feel about certain things or what I feel like is going to do very well versus what I feel like isn't going to do well. And I don't do a very good job of articulating the thoughts from my head to my team on content that I think is going to do well on social. I just have to do it myself. And I don't have enough planning in my life to do that. And I had an employee here who would schedule an entire month of posts ahead of time. But I didn't like it. Like some of those posts performed well. And then at that point you're doing things based on numbers, and like his big thing was, trying to make a post that's going to get the most number of likes. Well, I don't care about that. I wanted to get a post that had some other metric that I cared about or, whatever the case was, so it's like, I just don't do a very good job of articulating what I want sometimes, nor do I have the time to think it out. And a lot of times I just have to feel it. It has to be kind of like in the moment of what I want to write or the picture I want to post, or maybe somebody DMs me a picture right then and there. I'm like, boom, perfect. I'm posting that right now, So like we're not super structured. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but that's how we do it.
No, I guess that definitely makes sense, but that means that you have to be there to oversee that all the time, probably.
Yeah, but I enjoy it. I love it. Like we have the greatest community ever, and I love to interact with them. And it doesn't, and like I'm on my phone 24/7. My wife wants to like chop my head off and throw my phone in a dumpster all the time. She's like, "Can you put that thing down?" And that was a lot of flack I got in the early days with my wife. Like we got not arguments, but she'd be very frustrated. Like it's dinner time, and I'm on my phone posting something or talking to people on Instagram, and she's like, "I'm like, I can't. Like this is the time that everyone else is on Instagram. This is when I need to be on Instagram. I wish I like." And she gets it, but she's just like, "Can you please like this one time just." We're in a restaurant, put the phone down, and I'm like, but I have to. And it drove her nuts. And I'm way better about it now. I feel a little bit less pressure to post so often, as the algorithms have sort of changed a little bit and it's not organic and it's, there's a lot of things. So like I don't post as often as I used to post 3 to 5 times a day. And now I'm posting, once a day typically. And I try to make that one really count so that, and then, because we spend so much money on Facebook and Instagram ads, I know that people will see us on those platforms just to the amount of money we're spending.
Finally, we are going to move on to our final segment, which I call the rapid fire round. And in this round, in this segment, I'll ask you a few questions, and you'll answer them maybe in a few words or one or two sentences.
I'll do my best. I'm long-winded. I'm sorry.
A recommendation for a book for entrepreneur or business people in 2020?
I got nothing. No recommendations. I don't read books.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. I mean, you're more of a creative person, so that makes sense. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you're excited about?
Say that again?
An innovative product or idea that you're excited about?
That's a tough one.
In e-commerce or retail or tech, something that catches your attention.
It's really fun. I don't know is the answer right now. I don't pay attention to a lot of other things. I'm kind of in my own world. I'm like super into tech stuff, cameras and stuff like that. But the new Canon EOS R5 has my attention. It sounds pretty sweet. I think they're about to change the game in the mirrorless camera world with that new camera.
And that's what you use to shoot your YouTube videos, or?
Yeah, I use the Canon EOS R. But the new R5 is going to be, I think, a game changer to the mirrorless camera industry. I'm using my R right now as a webcam for this, so I hope it looks nice. Yeah,
looks great. Yeah. A productivity tool or software that you would recommend?
Trello.
Okay.
You familiar with Trello?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. A startup or business that you think is doing great things right now?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have, again, I don't pay attention to that much outside of what we've got going on.
A peer entrepreneur or business person who inspires you. I know you mentioned Gary Vee, but.
Yeah, Gary Vee, for sure. Evan Hafer of Black Rifle Coffee is somebody I've talked to a few times, and he's a pretty awesome guy. But there's no like content out there from him. You just pay attention to Black Rifle, where they came from and what they've done and where they're at now. That's a pretty awesome story, as well as Tyler Merritt from 9 Line Apparel. They've built an incredible thing from nothing in a short period of time. So Tyler Merritt and Evan Hafer.
Okay. And last question: best business advice that you have ever received, or you can give to other entrepreneurs?
I would say just to not give up, to be patient, and to learn from your mistakes.
Perfect. So thank you so much for your time today, for sharing your story. It's an incredible story. Where can people find you? Where can people find your business, your podcast, and get in touch with you if they need to?
Yeah, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you having me. People can find me. The business is tacticalbabygear.com. And I actually, I've got a YouTube channel that I talk a lot about business stuff and e-commerce and marketing, things like that. And that's on YouTube. You can go to my website. It's beavbrodie.com. And I've got a YouTube channel, Beav Brodie, there, where I go in more depth about a lot of the stuff that we do here.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Beav, for sharing your story, for sharing a lot of your business insights, marketing insights. Really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate it.